Talent Fest. So for those of you that aren't aware of Tech Talent Fest, it's like a job fair, like on steroids, really fun, only for the tech industry. So kind of like to weed through everything else and get you directly to the places that you want to go to work. And basically, we are looking for exhibitors. So if you know of any companies that are hiring, and also if you know of any, let's say, recruiters, consultants, etc., they're hiring as well, or that are helping candidates, etc. That's you know, who would be great exhibitors. Also, we're looking for any like essential services, etc., for job seekers. So, for example, could even be realtors might want to exhibit if they feel like, oh, well, if somebody gets a new job. No, but I'm saying if someone gets a new job, they might need to, you know, move their location.
Code camps would be another
Code camps would be another, you know, great exhibitor as well. Code camps, who else? Universities, etc., that are showcasing the programs. So keep that in mind, and we're also looking for volunteers. If you're interested in being a volunteer for the event, please come see me as well. So thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yes, thank you.
And Tammy, would you like to come and share? We've got another great, so that's February.
Okay.
And then here's another great event coming up.
Okay, good afternoon, or actually good evening. So how many people were at our golf tournament last year? Okay, next year I want to see everybody's hands raised. So it will be our, yes, and it's our 4th annual golf tournament, Cinco de Mayo. We're going to have it at Jacaranda this year. Save the date, May 3rd. So we definitely need sponsors. That will be up on the website next week. And if anybody wants to volunteer on the golf committee, please see me tonight. So again, what's the date? Very good.
No, Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
Well, no, so that is the theme, so there will be margaritas. So.
Cinco de Mayo, Tres de Mayo.
Yes, exactly.
One year we had the mariachi band.
And who knows, we might have it again this year. Where's Kelly? It's Kelly's friend, so yes. So anyway, again, if anybody wants to be on the golf committee, please see me. Thanks again.
Thank you, former president of the
Yay!
SFTA.
Are there any other large events coming up?
So there's another event towards the end of the year. I'm trying to
What
remember
about
the name of
In
it.
summertime.
Oh yeah, before we get there, in July. Does anyone think startups in the tech industry are fun, cool, interesting? Has anyone ever heard of SupX, the Startup Expo? 1, 2, 3, 4, right, we got claps over, yes! Another great event at the Broward County Convention Center. This past summer,
900-ish people.
about 900 people.
Many thousands of dollars available for entrepreneurs, early stage startup companies, and also a great opportunity for early stage startup companies to showcase their solutions. We like to highlight companies who are actually reached the point where they now have a product which they want to take to market and help them do that.
There's also some very early stage discussions about possibly an esports expo as well.
Maybe a developer conference. So we have a lot of ambition. So the convention center is big, really big. So we can do a lot of stuff there. So we're looking for feedback from the community as well as to what are the needs that we can provide to you all.
Another event that's in March 2nd, Saturday, March 2nd, is South Florida Code Camp. So, if anyone's interested in learning new coding techniques.
But Alex, is that an expensive thing to attend?
It is an expensive thing to attend. You have to get up early on a Saturday morning, and your wallet can be empty. We will provide breakfast and lunch, and even a sponsored party at the end.
Free parking?
Free parking as well. So it's going to cost some brain cells. You're going to have to really, really study.
It usually gets about 1,000 people.
Yeah, over 1,000. Yes, over 1,000 software engineers. So as well, if your companies might want to interact with the South Florida developer community, like if you know any recruiting firms that might want to be there, or technology companies that are looking to hire.
You guys sound like a bunch of slackers. Are you going to do a big conference at the end of the year?
And that's true. And then there's this big conference at the end of the year. What is the name of that?
Look down.
This will be the 8th annual IT Palooza this year. Can you believe it, John?
Yeah. 12, 12, 12?
12, 12, 19.
Oh, that's when we started it.
First one was 12-12-12, yes.
Yeah, this year we might be able to pull off the same days again.
So, your question for you. Does anyone use LinkedIn? All right.
Anyone have 10,000 connections on LinkedIn? Anyone have 15,000? 20,000? 21,000?
Oh!
Just saying. Just saying.
So, with LinkedIn, look for those postings. Have you ever seen a posting about the South Florida Technology Alliance? Yes? Like it, share it. Help us learn, connect, and grow.
All right.
Very good, thank you.
So now we're going to pass the ball over to C, who will introduce our esteemed panelists. We'll go for about an hour, and then we'll continue the conversation over some libations and snacks next door, and then we'll be thrown out in an orderly fashion by whenever they want, 9 o'clock, before 9 o'clock.
All right.
All right.
All right,
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you very much, Alex and John, Tammy, Kelly. These guys, they put together a lot of effort. We don't know how much effort it takes to put together an event like this. So they really deserve a big round of applause. So our talk today is information technology, what's next? And I was thinking about it and I said, how can you cover information technology and its future in 1 hour? And it's really a hard task, but we have to begin something. But luckily, we have a very good panel with us. And I don't want to waste time. Let's bring our panel here. Let them introduce themselves to you so that we know what we have today and what are we going to get out of it. So I invite my panel, please come over. Have a seat. And I will not be doing justice if I try to introduce them. So I take the chance, I let everybody introduce themselves so that you know exactly who you are talking to. So I will start from there. Sure. Go ahead.
All right. I don't know if you can hear me.
Hold on.
Do we have a mic?
Yeah. Why don't you pass
Do
that
we have
mic?
another mic?
No, that's
Okay. So,
Thank you, Asif, and thank you, John and SFTA for inviting us here to have this wonderful session. My name is Shakil Hai. I've been in IT industry over 20 plus years, specifically working in telecom, both the network operator as well as the mobile virtual network operators. So seeing full life cycle IT, dev, production, application support, and now governance with a heavy background on data intelligence, business intelligence, data implementations, and now into big data. So that's brief background of mine. I will hand it over to
Jessie Canada. I am with ASG. I do enterprise data management. I'm the strategic lead for ASG for the Southeast region. Some of the projects we do are governance, master data management, reference data, hierarchy data, as well as some of the machine learning. Understanding your business rules are during your ETL.
Good evening, Sal Cardozo. I started my career with Accenture and Capgemini for about 18 years, in quite a few countries. And then I went to corporate America and led a couple data and analytics teams with Fortune 500s, 2 Fortune 500s here in South Florida. And now I am back in consulting with us. We are a global digital innovation company with a strong focus on customer experience. And I lead our business, analytics and artificial intelligence practice.
Hello, good evening. Cesar Liu. I'm the president and founder of CRM Boost.
We're a 15-year-old company, cloud-based CRM systems, customer relationship management. We're also a software development group, and we develop for all different platforms, and lately a lot of mobile applications, iOS, Android, and integration with other platforms as well. We've been in the South Florida, founded and always been in South Florida, so we are a South Florida company. We started cloud computing 15 years ago, and back then we just called it database virtualization. Nowadays everybody knows it as cloud computing, but that's basically what it is. And we work a lot with data. Medium, small to mid-sized companies is our target. We help them with business analytics. We do a lot of the components that are part of the CRM part on the sales marketing side, which include email marketing, communications, texting, SMS, now push notifications as well, and anything that is part of the CRM systems.
Hello, my name is Gadi Haas. I'm Director of Operation of Balaco Data Centers. We are a local facility. We've been around since 2000. We concentrate ourselves into data center infrastructure, cloud infrastructure, managed services. I was supposed to wear a different shirt today that says cloud is just somebody else's computer. We are that somebody else. We deal from anybody from the standard small Joe Schmo all the way up to government entities, both foreign and domestic, etc.
Thank you very much, everybody. So now we know what kind of panel we have here, right? And it's very exciting. It's not easy to put together people like this. And I really want to thank everybody, and big round of applause for our exciting panel. And before I go further, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming here, taking time, and being present here. Without you, your participation, this would not have been possible. So technology, what's next? So I was thinking, as I said, that how can we cover a vast topic like that? And I was thinking that computers and information technology, it started somewhere in the back of the buildings, some basement in a big computer system, and we didn't know even that it existed, but it slowly started helping us. But then it creeped into our desktops, and it came right in front as an extension of the same computer. And we started using and getting fascinated. And then it became our own personal computer, but still sitting on our desktop, and on our fingertips, and we started playing it, using our information, and the information came on our fingertips. And then it came in our hand, using the mouse. And then it creeped into our body as wearable, and each and every part of it, we have wearables for this and wearables for that. And then it got out of our desktop and came part of us in different forms of devices, cell phone one of that, and all the wearable technologies that it had. And now it is trying to get to our eyes, and then create a virtual world for us, trying to get to our mind, trying to create an artificial intelligence and cognitive computing for us. What's next coming, obviously, that's something, but it is going to clone us, creating a robot like us. So that's just what we have thought, and that has happened in the last 50, 60 years. Where it's going to go, we can imagine, but probably we cannot. But some of those things that we will talk today. But before we go into the bigger things and all that handy-dandy and cognitive computing and information technology and blockchain and virtual reality and all, I really want to start with something that we can really use in our day-to-day life today, and what technology means for 2019 and what it means here, right here in South Florida, and the companies, exciting companies that we have sitting in front of us. What is happening right there? So we start from there knowing, and I ask each and every panel member to tell us what exciting projects that you are doing in 2019, things that have already started or you plan to start this year, and maybe in a couple of years now. And at least one or two main big projects that significantly you want to mention for our audience. So I start with Gauri.
We started back in 2017 with an AI initiative to put AI into the data center, not just to help customers, but also to help our internal policies and controls. I'll give you an example. When somebody right now puts in a ticket into our support system that states that their server is offline, what traditionally happens in a data center, it's more specifically in a managed service data center, is that ticket can take anywhere from a few minutes to 30 minutes or whatever it is for a human to see it. Then he has to react by looking at more information in the database and seeing the customer relation database, who the server is, what the server is, what the IP address of it, what are the resources that it's being consumed, what is the status of it, if it's on, if it's off, et cetera, et cetera. Today what happens is when you go in and you put in a support ticket saying that your server is down, you can't reach your server, anything that our AI will detect as a negative to where it constitutes as a server down, we have automatic scripts that will go and run internally and then go out to servers that we have outside in the South America market, in Europe, in Latam, and anywhere basically. And we run every type of diagnostic, and then we internally put that in on the comments. So in about 45 seconds worth of computing and AI and whatever scripts are happening, we internally have what a human would take hours to diagnose. Then based on that, we make a AI judgment whether to report to the client saying, hey, we see the server offline, would you like us to reboot it? Would you like us to restart it? Would you like us to do this? Most of the time, clients, actually 100% of the time, clients don't understand that that is actually an AI. It is not a human. It's actually responding to them. And we do that, and initially we did that, and we responded to the clients in literally less than 5 minutes. So they thought it was an auto response, so they thought to ignore it. So then we added 10 minutes. So then they're like, wait, you're responding way too fast to me because now I'm expecting you to respond to me like that at any given time, no matter what, and solve my problem in 10 minutes. So then we actually added additional logic to answer at, do the process depending what it is. Restart the service, say, hey, we witnessed it, it's gone down this and that. Restart it in a matter of a minute, it's up and running, but not respond to the client for another 15 minutes saying we've done X, Y, and Z. And then sometimes even go beyond 15 minutes depending on historical data of what the client has.
So your system was faster than they're expected.
The problem is we caused an issue internally where client expectations became so fast that our humans couldn't react as fast. So we had to actually put some slowdowns in that. But we also have other interactions where the AI could tell us whether both an employee or whether a client is happy or not, and based on that, trigger internally escalations for support tickets, whether they should automatically go to level 2, level 3, or even management. And that's also something else.
Intelligence for server management, anywhere.
That's actually monitoring human interactions of what's happening inside our, for example, our Slack system. We use Slack for interconnection and intercommunication. And we have internal channels that we have bots that are AI bots that are listening in on what the tech channel is doing and what the what is the customer service channels are doing and what they're looking at, what tickets they're looking at. And we use AI to actually go in and see if there's any internal further escalation that's needed to be done, and we do it automatically. So.
That's on?
I could go on with it.
Well, so along the same lines of AI, we're on the CRM side. So they're on the service side, so they use a service system to manage their tickets. We provide this ticket system. So with the CRM system, we're able to, we're actually implementing AI, artificial intelligence, to not only help the user to be able to use the system, but also help them with tasks and responsibilities. For example, with AI, we can capture better data, and with the data, then trigger automated email responses like was being said, and at the same time create either tickets, follow-up activities, tasks of that sort. Following with AI as well, like for example, giving a particular example, we service the Archdiocese of Miami, so we have a lot of Catholic churches. So they use our system to track, imagine with IoT, they can track the attendance of their parishioners and the amount they're given. So AI can actually detect if for a certain period of time they haven't attended service or they haven't given, and not necessarily alert them, but particularly it could actually maybe even send them an email. In their case, it does alert them to let them know, because that's usually a case of if they're not attending they were going, let's say, for every week, and then all of a sudden they're not showing up for 4 months, then that triggers an alert which lets them know that maybe there's some hardship, okay, to that extent. So that's on the artificial intelligence side. We're also doing a lot with, we've been doing a lot with blockchain. I'm sure a lot of you have heard a lot about it, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum. But on the software side, I mean, we believe blockchain is a very legitimate platform. I mean, the idea of this type of ledger, it's actually something that we're actually putting a lot of time into. We're doing a lot of projects with the CRM, interacting with using blockchain to store digital assets. Okay, in that sense, not necessarily for currency exchange, but for that we're working on projects with that use. And then of course we also do a lot of development. So for software development, there are many different coding languages that are out there. I mean, there are some favorites, but this particular year we decided to launch and create a team, particularly to work with a software code called Flutter. I don't know how many of you know about Flutter. Okay, so Flutter, I mean, it's a Google initiative. It's the idea. The whole idea is because the whole system is moving. Everything is moving towards mobile. So everybody wants to have it on their phone. So whereas before we used to have, or currently we have a team working on iOS devices, and they have to program the same program into an Android, then we have to either use a different team to do that. Now with Flutter, we're able to create one team that can generate one package, and with that package, we can deploy to both. So we can pretty much, we've done some tests, and where a deployment could take us a week, now we could do it in probably a day or two, in both iOS and Android. So those are some of the new things that we're working on. I mean, Flutter has been in alpha, beta for quite some time. I think they just released their 1.0, which made our decision to actually jump in and try and start doing that. There's a lot of clients of ours, business clients, they all want an application, because that's the thing right now. And with Flutter, we're able to develop quick deployments of applications, and we don't have to spend too much time, and it saves them time, saves them money, and it gets them into our CRM platform quickly.
We are working with one of the big cruise lines in Miami and doing a couple of different things for them, but one that is really interesting is, because at us we come from a user experience. What is the user experience, and how do we improve that user experience so to make them more competitive? Unfortunately, 89% of the companies are now strongly believe that they compete from a user experience perspective. But when you go, and Forrester will tell you this, only 8% of the customers believe that any company user experience is acceptable, or that they want to, so that they want to continue doing business with them. So based on that premise, what we are discussing, the next step to do with this cruise line is how do we apply a combination of IT. We understood the use case, but where is that taking us is to apply IoT and AI with. Let me give you a couple simple use cases. One, if they have a couple restaurants, one is on one deck and then another one is on a different deck, and then for whatever reason people are gathering or there is more a bigger crowd than expected in one of the places, how do I know right away that I need to move part of my personnel to that area and attend my customers? Or how do I know through sensors without keeping privacy that somebody is sleeping longer, and so I don't clean that room when I am supposed to, right? Or how do I know that Sal is behind and he gave me authorization to know where he is, so that he's an hour away and I wait for it. I send a reminder, or I just go and attend somebody else. So it's really, how do I support my customers better, and how do I do that through a digital component? It could be a phone.
Know that somebody is going to jump off the cruise line?
No, we have talked about it, seriously. That's a common one. I think they are doing it now, the other ones, right? It's a wearable, and they know if you have your kids, and you can know through a phone app, and that's user experience, where they are in a boat. So that's happening today. And the another one is, I'm working with a very large global insurance company, and this one may not sound as attractive, but it is application of technology, and they work in 60 companies. In 60 countries. We are doing some big data and data warehouse project to work for them, but now the challenge is we need to go to market quicker. So how do we apply machine learning into our data acquisition routines? Call them ELT or ETL, whatever. And then how do I apply maybe some blockchain to start doing some governance upfront, because we are dealing with about 5-6 different systems worldwide. And we can't really wait that long to go through the traditional process. So besides doing agile deliveries, okay, based on what we know now, I think we're coming to a point where we can apply some intelligence and some algorithms that will guide us and optimize the data acquisition process. And it's coming to basically doing some machine learning algorithms on the ETL or the ELT routines, and also applying blockchain from the source, even before when the claim is created, so that when the data finally lands, it stays at rest, or even if some of that is staying at the edge in the cloud because of regulations in Europe and Asia Pac. So it's really interesting. Hopefully, yeah. Thank you.
I don't know if I'm as excited. We do data lineage, and it's end-to-end data lineage. So what that includes is a visualization of how your data is mapped throughout the entire organization. So what does that mean? That means that you're able to actually do impact analysis by looking at the code, whether it's Java or C++, and see what the transformations are occurring. That saves both time. You could get to market a lot sooner. If you're developing a data lake, you're identifying what your main domains are, and the use of that data. So we also do classification within the lineage, where you could, I saw some handouts out there in terms of GDPR. That's the General Data Protection Act that occurred in the EU in London. And now if you're keeping up with it, it's happening in California. It happened in Colorado. So now we're taking on some of those privacy laws as well. So within the lineage, you can also see whether it's PII data, which means it's privacy, or you can also see your data flow metrics aligned with your lineage. So you will know from one hop to the next hop. Everyone's IT, so everyone knows what a hop is. If there's any transformation that occurred that's actually impacting your data quality. So if you're going into master data management deployment or a data lake deployment, big data, you'll be able to identify whether that data is clean and is viable to for end users to do analytics. If your data scientist is going to use that information, it's going to be reliable, as well as your data analyst could go ahead and perform the data quality remediation practices that they need to do before it hits the landing point.
Awesome.
So within our scanners, we use scanners and analyzers. The scanners actually go out to each individual source, captures the information. The analyzers actually parse the data. So it could be as complex as your business.
Sure. Thank you.
It's hard to kind of put boundaries on this discussion because it's very wide. So I would like to focus, some of the guidelines you provided is, what is the local connection, or what are we doing here in South
Yeah, well,
Florida?
basically, especially the first thing is that what we're doing inside the company,
Right.
our own company.
So-
that it's an example.
From that perspective, and I'm going to establish this premise and see how big of a debate this is, but it's easier to say that South Florida is not the hotbed of technology in terms of, we don't have Facebook here, we don't have Amazon here, we don't have the Twitters and Netflix. So a lot of innovative work is done outside of Florida, and this is my 20 years experience here, but I could be wrong. Most companies here are catching up, or they do catch up. And the technologies at the leading edge outside, which may be not a bad thing, because we don't bleed to death at an early stage. We are not the early adopters, and I can talk about a little bit of my experience with telecom and having 20 million plus customers dealing with them.
And especially for that, because we, as a first step, we want to know, especially in your telecom and in the track phone, what are the main 1, 2, 3 projects
So
that we are doing?
from that perspective, and 20 million customers, dealing with them from 360 degrees, from the time that they are a lead to the customer journey, that they are activated and they become a customer and they replenish, they stay with the company, and they interact with the call centers, with the omni-channel, with the web IVR and the apps, and then they churn, and then we win them back. So that's the 360 life cycle that a customer has. So things that were not possible, let's say 5, 6 years ago, because of technology innovation outside of Florida, but we can adapt. And I'll just pinpoint a few examples because this is too wide of a topic. So customer experience. In 5, 6 years back, if we wanted to know upfront what the customer is, who's the customer. So if you have 20 million customers, one of them is calling. How do you know who is calling? Where is he calling from? What is his age group? What is his spending habits? How much data he consumes? How many websites he visits? Where does he live? Is he going to churn or he's going to stay? How much money he has spent in the company? That was not possible. So you call a call center, and this is a typical example. How many times you have received a phone call from your credit card company saying that your credit card has been compromised? Almost each one of us have, right? One way or the other. I just got a call yesterday. So, and the experience is different. So if Discover calls, and I had 2 experiences last month. One was Shell, MasterCard, and coming to TrackPhone pretty soon. One was Discover. So Shell called me, MasterCard called me that my credit card has been compromised, and this is the number you should call. When I called, I had to give all the information. This is my home phone. This is my address. This is how. And a whole bunch of questions that I had to go through. Discover called me the day before yesterday. Although I'm, not willing to. I'm not looking forward to this kind of calls, but this happened. So they called me. They said, there has been an activity, suspicious activity on your car. Please, they wanted to get some ID information early. I said, how do I trust that it's Discover? It could be a scam. So they said, call the number on the back of your card. When I called them back, they said, they specifically provided me the information that this agent called you, he is on hold, and this is the activity you are, your card has been tagged as suspicious activity on it. So they had my information, they had my card information, they had all the basics. So they knew the customer journey. I didn't have to start all over again. They didn't transfer my call to some other fraud department saying, putting me on a hold, and then when they transferred my call, they didn't start from. So that's the customer journey that we are all taking. Whether you use a phone, you use any website, any services, utilities, you want to start as a customer where you left off. You don't want to start all over again. So now coming back, technology. How technology can help? We now have the big data. We have the data lakes. We have the, all kinds of petabytes of data around the customer. You can quickly marry the data and you can make it available for the CRM systems. So when the customer is calling inbound, you have all the upfront information. And the marketing folks can feed in the marketing data upfront on the screen of the agent. The agent can say, this is the customer we want to upsell, or this is the customer we want to downsell. And I had a question, why would you like to downsell someone? I had $30 plan, right? I've been using $30, but when I call the customer service agent, right away he sees that I'm only using 70% of my data. If the company is honest enough to give me the feedback that you go downgrade your plan, go to a $20 plan, I would appreciate the company more. They understood me as a customer, and I trust the company more, and I'm going to stay more with the company. So that's how you achieve the customer retention, by using the customer experience. So customer experience is no longer a phone call response by an agent. Customer experience is how much the company knows about it, and how honestly they're using this information. And they may manage this life cycle. So this is what we're doing, using cloud and data, big data and data science to capitalize this huge amounts of data, loading up front through cloud, because we couldn't load petabytes of data. We had a 100 terabyte system that I was working 5 years back. We spoke about in the last SFTA meeting we had. To have 100 terabytes data, we had to beg IBM to come tune it, do this, do that. Now we could take the 100 terabytes and add another 250,000 terabytes up, load it to AWS or whoever is your, cloud provider, and marry the data, use the tools, ELT, ETL, and make it available to make business decisions. And this is the life cycle. We could go through that. So we didn't have cloud, at least in, as I said earlier, South Florida is behind in technology, not behind really, but behind in adoption, which may be a good thing for us. Now we could adopt to these faster technologies to monetize the data, if you will. The data was we had the data in terabytes of data sitting. We were using a fraction of the data. We were using maybe 1, 2, or 3, maximum 4 attributes to define a customer. Now we can take 60 attributes to define a customer. And then based on that, we can apply, the statistical sciences there, which value pocket he is, how much CLTR customer lifetime revenue he's going to bring. Is he going to churn? Is he going to stay? We can do predictive modeling on it. We can run machine learning on it. We can run, adaptive, cognitive models to learn the behavior. And next time, when we have the first interaction, we can tell the customer, give him intelligence what to do next. So this is something that excites me, that it's happening here in South Florida. Our community is using, companies are using this technology, and it's so widespread. But if you connect the dots, CRM, CX, data science, cloud, all of this is coming together.
The better use of big data better analytics, better data quality, user experience engineering, and AI in customer relationship management, and AI in our service management, right? So exciting things, right? And that is happening, and that's what we mainly wanted to start. That's happening right here in the companies, and we can take advantage of it. We are really thankful. Isn't that exciting panel, right? You did the job? So now that we know what is happening on the ground and inside the company and what we really are doing on a day-to-day basis, obviously, and once we want to take advantage of your exposure to so many industry verticals that we have, and you represent here the telecom industry, the financial industry, the government, the cruise lines, right, and our IT core. We want to know that outside your company and around your company and the industry verticals that you are dealing with, right? What is happening there? What are kind of pressures that you are feeling from financial industry? What are the kind of challenges that we are getting from telecom industry? What are the kind of questions and challenges that we have other than the people jumping from cruise line? What are the kind of challenges that we are having and use cases that we are receiving? So we want to know outside your company, around your company, in the verticals that you're dealing with, if you share what kind of things are happening on the technology side. So I start with Shakil this time. So you got the mic right away. Okay.
Well,
Especially telecom point of view.
yeah, challenges are big, and IT went from a cost center to a business driver. So this is the main shift that at least we have witnessed on our watches here in the last 5 to 10 years. Is IT was like, okay, my laptop broke or my desktop broke, and I don't have access, and I don't have telecom access. So from that point on, connectivity, basics, MS Office, access, reporting, to sitting in the board and driving the business along with the company objectives. So this is the biggest pressure now IT is facing, is now they got to cut costs from the IT cost center perspective. So that keep the lights on has not gone away. While we are maintaining the lights on, we have to drive the business also, because now the expectation is very high. Because you're going to be selling on the apps, you're going to be selling on the web, you're going to be selling on indirect channels, you're going to be selling in retail. Every single touch point, IT is there, right? So once you deliver to the business that this is okay, we wanted to sell 100 million, revenue here, and we achieve that. The next thing is cut the cost. So that is the biggest challenge, and then technology is evolving. So you have these three-dimensional.
Do more with less.
Do more with less, and improve. So now if we used to dial up, right? $20, $30, $40. Then we went from dial-up to DSL, from DSL to Blast, or now you have Xfinity and AT&T. We're still paying, but we are paying similar amounts, and we're getting a lot faster and newer technology. So we would still be paying. The customers' expectations are super high, business expectations are high, and the drive outside and more, so that the handsets are faster. Let's say you have the iPhone, you have iPhone X, you have Samsung, you have 7, 8, 9. So your handset is doing what the supercomputers used to do 10 years ago. Now you want overload it with the apps over and over, and then you want to do every single thing using your handset. And so this affair is only going to get worse from here. So, and I see that that's a challenge with my kids. Is they are glued to the screen pretty much. So I'm scared seeing that, but we are the ones who are selling this. So it's a double-edged sword. However, this to me is the biggest challenge right now, is to cope up with technology and the business pressure to do more with less. And you have the cloud migration going on, you have the data analytics, you have the
So it's
machine
not
learning.
only do more, it's do right. Yes, that's right. Thank you.
You covered almost everything I wanted to cover.
Do less.
So, exactly. So I would actually add, there's a big component to every single industry, which is risk avoidance. And from that perspective, I mentioned the General Data Protection Act is one of them, where they could get fined. I think it was just Google that just got fined, where they have to change their marketing practices. So from an IT perspective, we have to kind of mirror ourselves with the business and help them still be successful in terms of their marketing plan, their model, and still make sure that they're safe, right? So making sure that we're not going to add any, I would say, any holes into the process that's going to have any regulators come to, knocking on your door and saying that you owe so much money. So right now, Congress just passed a bill where even the federal government has to comply with data protection. They're not going to allow as much data available to us to be able to download it. So I don't know if anyone, since the shutdown, has been able to go to the .gov site and download any data, but you couldn't do it. Okay. It was actually turned off for a while. Yeah. So I get a lot of data from there. Right. So if we're relying on that information so that we could do predictive analytics, or if we're trying to tie it in to do a specific use case for whatever.
So you're getting challenges from the president?
Not the president, but just, the organization. It does impact your business. So you do have to have a clear line of sight in terms of the expectations, as you stated, are getting higher and the demands are getting higher, but they're still expecting us to deliver. So it's making sure that we're not going to cost the business any opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Being back in consulting after so many years, the companies are coming to us to say, yeah, you're right. Help me do it quicker. Help me do something that is going to help me compete with against my competitors, going against my competitors. And unfortunately, I was in IT for 12 years. I don't want to go through IT to do this. If there is the cloud, if I have data scientists in my team, if I know analytics, why doesn't IT just give me the data and you deliver this for me? So that's a big challenge. That is.
Give me what you have. I want to do it myself.
I want to do it myself. I want to do it with you. Don't even bother calling IT. Don't go there. I will get you access to the data, and I need to do it quicker, and I'll do it myself. I don't want to wait. And that was a headache that I used to have when I was with Ryder and ADT. So that's a big challenge. On the IT side, the big challenge is as we move, and I left a few months ago, is how do we become a partner? How do we transform ourselves and really learn the business? And I cannot be IT, I cannot speak about cloud and networks and all the stuff. I need to know the business. And that was the biggest challenge that I face. And the customers tell me now on the consulting side is they don't know my business. Only a few of them. They are really good at what they do. They are good technocrats, but they don't understand why I need to do this. So those are like both sides of the story right now. So my advice would be, if you're in IT, learn the business, please, and understand that the time to market and cost effectiveness is critical. And yeah, the CIO, his directs, they get it. Most of them, 90% of them get it, but from that point down, people really like to play with gadgets and technology and new stuff.
So So going back to the question about what some of the companies that we work with, what kind of trends they're going through for this year. With regards to CRM, we work with a lot of industries, different from manufacturing to service to logistics. What I've seen is somewhat of a race to move everything to the cloud. Okay? So more and more companies, they're trying to move their operations, their infrastructure, their data to the cloud, and they find it a challenge to do the whole thing at once. So I'm seeing more of a trend towards a hybrid cloud model, where they're moving partially, like in the sense, through our CRM, we're trying to provide them most of the ERP solutions, meaning the invoicing, everywhere from lead management to opportunities to quoting, invoicing, communicating, even purchasing, inventory management, even to that extent, and then have that portion in the cloud and running it on us as a service, and at the same time they can keep the more critical or sensitive data, such as their accounting, their accounting information in-house, on-premise. So that's what I see as more and more companies going that route. They're not willing yet to move that portion to the cloud, and understandably so. So that's one thing. The other part I feel is it's trending toward more about customer satisfaction, customer service, customer experience, more so than pricing and even quality of service and product. So more and more companies are having to focus on that sense, and that's how they use our tools, technology, and the information that they gather, and be able to run whatever filters or queries or intelligence that they need to run to figure out how they need to deal with those different niche targets that markets that they're targeting. So, so basically, that.
So because we deal with a lot of, yeah, I'll try to be because we deal with a lot of infrastructure for clients that are in so many different verticals, from anybody, like I said, from Joe Schmo all the way to federal. A lot of the things that we're seeing and that we're helping clients with is compliance. We are seeing more and more clients that are actually smaller, not just our large clients, but the smaller clients that have to deal with compliance, whether it's GDPR, which is becoming a thing right now because we've got a couple clients asking for it. And we're in the process right now of conducting our own GDPR audit. We're also in the process of conducting our SOC 2 Type 2 audit, but we've got a lot of clients that they themselves need to go into SOC 1 audits, SOC 2 audits, Type 1s, Type 2s, NIST audits, HIPAA, high-tech, and a lot of those audits require a lot of help from us because a lot of times they'll go to a particular public cloud architecture and they may hit a brick wall because the particular vertical that they're in does not necessarily allow them to do what they're trying to do in that particular set one. So a lot of the challenges that I'm seeing today, I mean, one support ticket that got escalated to me today was actually as simple as it sounds, was a VPN connection to a cruise line, which was ridiculous too long on how long it took. But and it was more bureaucracy than anything else. And all of it was just to get an API to a data set of one particular cruise line down here. And but those are the larger things that I'm seeing that are problematic. Not problematic, but they're just clients that are very large. Verizon has, for example, entire teams, hundreds upon hundreds of employees to help them with their compliance and making sure that they're compliant for their clients, etc. But when you're dealing with a company here out of Broward County, Florida that has 2, 3, 4 guys that have to go and compete in these kind of environments and have to go and do a GDPR audit, a SOC 2 audit, a SOC 1 audit, a SaaS audit, NIST, which is more of a government audit, and then they have to go and compete with these big guys. It's a very big burden, and I'm seeing it more and more that it is a stepping stone of whether a small company will actually be able to go and take their product to market and be successful from regulatory perspectives. Because they could go to market and out of nowhere hit a brick wall because they forgot something, and then they get hit with a fine that for Google $68 million is nothing, but for a company that nets $100,000 in their first year, it's a lot more. So these are the things that I'm seeing that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis with our clients and helping them overtake that.
So regulations and audit, and I don't want to put my data in the cloud, and do the right thing and do more with less. So those are some of the things from the industry point of view that are happening. And now that we know what's happening in the industry side, and we know what's happening in the company side. Quickly, and in the interest of time, I am getting a little flagger. I didn't expect that coming so soon, but that's what happens when you get into the technology. But let me ask, and before I go to the question answer session, right? So one fundamental question, that obviously technology is driving everything, and it is changing everything around us. And it is changing in a profound way. And just to get out of the company and the industry vertical and really the human aspect of the technology. And it's fascinating how this little field can come up and impact so much, right, in such a short time. Right? And I know it's a hard question and it's harder to cover quickly. But the fundamental thing that I would like to cover is, what is the fundamental two single thing that are driving such a big change, right, in our life? From IT point of view. Right? What is in IT that is bringing so much change that it is impacting all aspects of our life, right? So one of the things that I feel like that it is a change that happened, what we call the agriculture revolution, when we were in the hunting, and then agriculture, and we learned how to grow our food and store our food, right? Now we have learned how to store our information and process of our information. So how do you see quickly IT impacting so much, and where it is leading us? Just a few words, starting with.
So, that's a very odd question. I'll try to be as specific as possible.
We thought it's going to be easy coming.
All right, so my day-to-day, other than what I said to you before up till now, as far as artificial intelligence, running a network, running fiber optics, running 100 gig optics at 100 kilometers and whatever it is, but I could start my day dealing with a dual sequential V10 turbo engine that's 18.2 liters that's overheating for some at a test, and that's our generator. That's just one of our generators. It's a 1 meg generator, and for some reason it's overheating. Why it's overheating, I don't care, but it's overheating, so we need to figure out why. So, and take that particular small issue and then multiply it by 1,000 different things that are happening. For us, using AI to go in and looking at heuristics of how this particular breakdown happened. In this particular instance, we're talking about a belt. And, how did it happen? How do you track it not happening again? And take that and multiply it by 1,000 times. One of our things that we have in our audits that I told you about before, specifically in our SOC audits, in our SOC 2 Type 2, is they ask us, how often do we have a human walk the floors to make sure that there's no water on the floor? What is water doing in a data center? Let's go there. Why, is there a rack that's open? Is there an air conditioner that has an alarm on it? Is there a temperature issue? Is this, is that, whatever it is? And they expressed to us that they were concerned that we didn't have a human doing this. And we elaborated to them, what's the point? We have so many sensors that go and communicate with each other that will turn on another compressor, that will shut down a compressor based on different criteria. That what is the point in having somebody do it? It's a waste of somebody's talent to walk around and look at a screen. Why can't we just bring the screen to him, or we could just have the alert as an SMS, or have analytics and everything else? And that's where things are going to, and that was your question.
And if you can add, and in the interest of time, closing for the audience, in order to take advantage of your experience, what 1, 2, 3 things that they can do in 2019, they're going to focus on that in order to better manage their companies or their personal careers, or the students are sitting here. Okay. What is your piece?
I'll go with just one of them, with the student ones. As far as students, one of the things that I'm seeing when I'm interviewing people is they ask me, why the hell do I need to know all this basic stuff about processors and GPUs, APUs, memory, segmentation faults, and all these things are just very, very low level, where I could, nowadays everything's about cloud, everything's about this, and everything's about that. Basically, today, companies like like Valico and everybody else here are looking for people that are full stack, meaning that they're able to not just hone in on one little profession. They need to be able to understand both the literal basic level understanding of how an electron works, all the way up to how this goes into a software defined network that will create automatically a tunnel to go here and whatever it is, and be able to take that and break it down one by one. And that's the largest thing that I'm seeing currently today in the industry when we're looking for acquiring human talent, is that we're looking for a full stack understanding of A to Z.
How many students are sitting there? Awesome. That's our one of the focus. And especially Keiser University has been very nice in giving us this venue. A round of applause for them. So we really want to help our students learn from us, and we can skip other things, but we can't skip that one.
So, what was the question again?
The question is, what is the main 1 or 2 things that you would like as an advice that people can use, especially for students?
So,
it's easier to cover students, right?
Right. Yes. Most definitely. So, in my sense, we hire developers. We hire software programmers. So, we need coders. So, one of the hardest part for us has been able to find coders that are up to date, with the current coding languages, and in our sense, full stack, meaning you're able to code back end, front end, client side, and also be able to design, ideally CSS, HTML, JavaScript, all that stuff. So the more languages you can learn, all those resources are online. A lot of them are actually very accessible. They're free. A lot of them you can learn. Definitely do so, and take it upon yourselves to create things, try things. There's not everything has been done, not everything has been made. So this is the ability to challenge yourself and develop something different, or come up with an idea and just go ahead and try it. If you're, like, for example, I mentioned about Flutter. I mean, that's totally new. I mean, there's if you look it up, it's probably one of the bottom of the coding languages right now, because there's nobody knows about it. But with the coding language, any simple background, you'll understand what they're trying to do, and you'll see that, wow, you can build something with 1, 2, 3 instead of doing 100 steps. So definitely being a full stack programmer will definitely help you in pursuing opportunities. For sure. Yes.
I come from a different angle.
That's exactly what we want.
Technology is good. I did computer science in school. That's great. But you should, if you're in business, and I'll address these students in a second. And if you're in information technology, please, and I take it from where I left it before, learn the business. I think IT in a few years, people in information technology working for a company are going to be business transformers. And that's what companies are expecting today. And if you go to schools, and I know Keiser is probably doing this, is learn what you learn, how does it apply to your business? How can you be an innovator? How can you help them be different and be a competitor? And also, how can you basically innovate and be a transformer, applying the technology. So learn the technology, learn languages, but also learn the business side. And if you're a student, every single class, sooner than later, is going to help you somehow. I'm into analytics, I'm into artificial intelligence. Guess what? I didn't like my Boolean algebra classes and all the stuff. What am I doing now? My database is advanced database design. What do I need to do? That came really handy. I didn't like it, but if you don't like a class, pay attention, learn it. How do you apply it? And it's going to be really fruitful down the road. Okay, thank you.
Wow, I couldn't agree with him more. Definitely, if you don't like algebra, start liking it. Machine learning, all math. It's identifying the rules, identifying what strategy you're going to take, right? Are you going to do clustering? You're going to use labeling or characterization. So I would definitely focus on math. I would also say that data right now is, if we could put our currency to data, it's gold right now. People are looking for it to drive the business, to identify new markets, to identify new products based on customer behavior. It's right now being used to do impact analysis, right? You don't want to wait until something happens to know that it was going to happen. So if you could predict those kind of actions sooner, it's definitely going to help drive the business, and they'll start trusting you. From an IT perspective, I can't tell you how many times the business is like, yeah, we have the budget. It works both ways. They can't move their business forward without us, and we can't buy anything without them. So definitely become best friends with the business, understand the business, and definitely understand what the CEO or CIO objectives are, which is if they have a strategy to deploy to the cloud, understand what's going to be the best method to deploy to the cloud. Do your research. Everything, honestly, everything's on Google. You can learn, and it's free. So that would be my advice.
Special round of applause for Jessie because she represents women on this panel. You know?
This is a loaded question, and if you want me to answer this question as a father or a technologist, that's what you have to choose. And that's that's a difficult balance that we have to create, because as we are learning, as the machines are learning us. So machine learning is machine learns how a human thinks. At the same time, with the same token, humans have to learn how to use machines. And that balance has to occur. And human beings, their biggest strength is knowledge and ability to use the knowledge. And what I feel at times is the machines have spread data all over, but sometimes I feel the knowledge is reducing. So, and this is a classic question I ask my high school kids. Sometimes they're watching these videos like hours and hours. And I asked yesterday that you spent 2 hours watching videos. Do you remember something that you can share? And I'm sure they do, but they have difficulty reproducing one single thing. And that's the challenge that we have to go through. We need to learn machines, how to use them, and how to capitalize or maximize the benefits in these gadgets. And this will drive us, and we have examples, good and bad. So 20 years back when I went to Disney World, I went to the theme park, Epcot, and they were showing solar cars, right? 20 years back, they had models. For the longest time, we didn't see the solar cars or electric cars. And all of a sudden, they are now, popped up and they are on the street. So what has stopped that? The advent or the progress there. So these things can take a hit because we're not mobilizing the technology properly. So we have to adapt to this technology and to mobilize, capitalize, and then the benefits would come and the generations would be benefiting from that. But we need to learn how, or we need to keep not distracting, because the technology could be very distracting. And as an example, how many times you have gone to the net to search one question, but then you have strayed an hour and not gotten that answer. So that's it.
Okay. As in the interest of time, as we said, we're going to take just one or two quick questions, right? Nobody has any questions? Awesome. We got a question. Right?
So I just wanted to ask how you guys deal with, being that South Florida, we're not there yet when it comes to technology, and data being such a big piece of the business. How do you guys deal with hiring, the talent you need to complete a project? How do you communicate that with the business, creating that urgency, like, I need this person. How do you deal with the pushback that you get, bringing that talent in? Because being South Florida's not there yet, we really don't have, we're not, where technology is in San Francisco and other places like New York.
Who wants to take the question?
Talent is directly proportionate to the individual. The fact that they can regurgitate a Cisco book does not necessarily mean that they can actually do it. They can pass the exam. That's not a problem. A 12-year-old in India could pass MCSE. Actually, no, I think it was 7 years old. But the point of the matter is that when we're looking right now at talent, and when I was saying full stack, we also have another spectrum, which is looking at individuals and looking at their talent, and not their talent of their knowledge, but their talent of their ability to comprehend. The ability to take a simple problematic issue that may not even be related to anything about IT, and see how fast they solve it, learn it, and then give them another problem and see if they could use what they learned in the first problem. We have those, and we also hire based on that. And Google does that as well. It's based on not just their knowledge or what they learned. It's how fast it takes them to analyze something. It's analytical thinking.
Awesome. There's a question here.
Hello, my name is Bill Townsend. I'm with Fog's Edge Technologies. And I was curious about the lack of mention of 5G. It seems to be it's going to be a transformative technology, but beyond that, it's going to spawn a new platform that's probably going to preempt the cloud. It's called the fog. And it's going on in Europe already as they've implemented 5G technologies, but it's going to become a layer, and it's probably going to become a revolutionary technology.
You want to take it?
You're right. I'll say not only 5G, but 5G and the internet is reinventing itself because of 5G. So the IoT, I'll say, is a new internet, and drastic changes, or good, in a good way, are coming are coming our way. I mean, just the AT&T told me that we had 5G in my house as of a couple of weeks, and what we are able to do, how easy it is to get access to anyone or relabel, wireless device and add it to my Wi-Fi is incredible. But yeah, the advances, that's going to revolutionize. She said that data is the new currency, and what we're going to be able to do with data because of the coming from IoT, and we talk about dark data, the 90% of the data we don't have access to, that's dark data. This is going to help tremendously. So what we're going to be able to use and how we're going to be able to navigate and have access through machine learning and AI is unbelievable. I can't even imagine how we're going to do. And 5G is a big component. And we are going to be hearing that the internet is just a new version 2 of this.
Also, go ahead. When you're referring to fog, are you considering, and you're saying 5G, are you considering the throughput or the latency from the eyeballs to the application?
The latency, ultra reliability and latency.
Right.
And also, the providers actually are going to reduce their expenses for the towers by 46% just because of reduced power consumption.
Yes, and you also touched on latency, edge. So there's going to be a lot, while they are going to reduce a lot of their power as far as on the access points. I mean, we've seen a tremendous change even with the 4G to LTE transitions on the towers, where the radios used to be at the base and they used to use LMR or even large, like LMR 800 cable going off the tower to the actual radios and the sectors, 90 degrees or whatever sectors they use. Whereas now we're actually seeing a little 48 volt cable plus a fiber optic going up there where everything is actually right there sitting in the back of the sector. And that's where you're talking about the actual reduction in power. But there's going to be an increase in power at the base levels as well, because we're talking about latency and caching. We're going to be caching a lot more data locally so that it could get there to the vehicle faster.
Intel just announced at the CES on a data center on a chip that's going to sit right on that tower.
Right.
Some of these discussions mean we will have our panel available. Just again, our time is limited. I really wanted to have more discussion. But this was really an exciting discussion. Everybody agrees, and a big round of applause for our. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming, listening here. I give it to John, and he will give us all for the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you, panelists. We really appreciate it. I also wanted to introduce you to Nikki. Nikki is one of our newest board members. She started volunteering for SFTA, involved with our marketing committee, and is now helping to lead the you're doing the job fair at Tech Talent Fest, and has become one of our most recent board members. So congratulations to Nikki.
I was just going to yell. I wanted to have everybody raise your hands, make a smiley face, act like you're enjoying yourself, and take a picture for social. Yes, I'm going to come in the middle.
Be a little taller.
Yep.
I know it's hard, but.
Yes, I'm not the tallest. All right, I'm going to have to split it.
So while she's
all right, so we're going to do this side first. All right, smile, hands up, happy people.
We're live. Come on, guys, let's go. Make noise.
We're going to do this side.
Live. Come on.
There you go. And I just wanted to.
Our panel here.
Yes, I will do panel as well. I just wanted to mention that, of course, with me doing the marketing side, can everybody hear me? I just prefer to yell. Okay. So just with me doing the social media and the marketing, I just want to say, which thank you for bringing up, just Florida is known for being a little bit behind all of the other areas in the country, which I think we're catching up, and especially with Miami, connecting us to, the Central and South America, which is bringing a lot of great talent, that we do have to interact more with each other. And the only way we're going to do that by bringing South Florida into the limelight is by doing things like this, connecting with each other, talking, educating ourselves. And so I know sometimes my piece of it, the marketing and advertising and that social side of it gets forgotten, but that's a huge piece of it, with us connecting, sharing information, tagging each other, you know, and even if you guys have certain things, you know, that you think we should be discussing, feel free to send me that, because we would love to create new, you know, content, different panel discussions that you guys feel are important. I mean, that's how we know what to talk about, what you guys are interested in, by hearing from you guys. So I'm gonna take a really quick picture. You guys do.
Oh, we're gonna photobomb? Go ahead, get in there. Go, go. Photobomb.
So come through next door, continue the conversation. Hopefully most of our panels will be able to join us for a few
thank you.
minutes.
And then if I can get the
out here
panelists
by
to, once
9.
you guys are done, just on the actual like school logo, the little backdrop.
So, next door. Drinks and